Hello. In the previous video, we discussed definition of congruence modulo n and its properties, also some kinds of theorems. So, what is meant by congruence modulo n? Two integers are said to be congruent modulo n. Means we say that a is congruent to b modulo n if n divides the difference a minus b, and we express this difference a minus b as a minus b is equal to some k times n. Here a and b are integers, n is fixed integer and k is sum of the integers. Now in this video we will discuss binary and decimal representation of integers, also some of the divisibility test. So before discussing next article, let's have one example. Find the remainder obtained by dividing the following sum by 12, and the sum is given as 1 factorial plus 2 factorial plus 3 factorial plus 4 factorial plus and so on 99 factorial plus 100 factorial. So here we should know n factorial means what? N factorial means n multiplied by n minus 1 multiplied by n minus 2 up to and so on 1. So for example, 3 factorial is equals to 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1, which is equals to 6. Similarly 4 factorial is equals to 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1, which is equals to 24 and so on. So here we have to find the remainder obtained by dividing this sum by 12. So let's have the solution. Since 4 factorial is equals to 24, that's why 4 factorial is congruent to 0 modulo 12, as 12 divides the difference 4 factorial minus 0 means 24 minus 0. So 12 divides the difference 24 minus 0. That's why 4 factorial is congruent to 0 mod 12. This implies k factorial is congruent to 0 mod 12 for all k greater than equals to 4. It means as 4 factorial is congruent to 0 mod 12, this implies for any k greater than or equal to 4, k factorial is congruent to 0 modulo 12. For example, 5 factorial is 120, and 120 is divided by 12. That's why 5 factorial is congruent to 0 modulo 12. Similarly 6 factorial, 7 factorial, all other factorials are divisible by 12. So that's why k factorial is congruent to 0 modulo 12 for all k greater than equals to 4, as 4 factorial is congruent to 0 modulo 12. Therefore the sum 1 factorial plus 2 factorial plus 3 factorial plus 4 factorial plus and so on plus 99 factorial plus 100 factorial is congruent to 1 factorial plus 2 factorial plus 3 factorial plus 0 plus 0 plus and so on plus 0. Why we take this 0? Because 4 factorial is congruent to what? 0 modulo 12. Similarly all other factorial greater than equals to 4 are congruent to 0 modulo 12. Therefore this 4 factorial becomes 0, 5 factorial becomes 0, up to 100 factorial becomes 0. So this sum is congruent to 1 factorial, 2 factorial plus 3 factorial plus and so on up to 0. And this sum is equals to 3 factorial is equals to 6, 2 factorial is equals to 2, and 1 factorial is 1. So this sum is 6 plus 2 plus 1, which is equals to 9. So this sum is congruent to 9 modulo 12. Thus the given sum leaves the remainder 9 when divided by 12. So this sum leaves the remainder 9 when divided by 12. So next, Euclid lemma. If a, b, c are integers, a is non-zero, and if a divides the product b and c with GCD of a and b is equals to 1, then a divides c. So we use this lemma to prove the next theorem. So what the lemma says, Euclid says, if a divides the product of two integers bc and if GCD of a comma b is equals to 1, then a should divide c. So this is the Euclid's lemma. Theorem 4.3. If CA is congruent to CB modulo n, then A is congruent to B modulo n divided by D, where D is equals to GCD of C comma n, and all these are integers and n is fixed. So if CA is congruent to CB modulo n, then A is congruent to B modulo n by D. A is congruent to B modulo n by D, where D is equals to GCD of C comma n. So here A, B, C, D and n are integers. Let's have proof. What they given? CA is congruent to CB modulo n. Therefore, CA minus CB is equals to C into A minus B, which is equals to Kn. By the definition of congruence, we know that if A is congruent to B modulo n, then A minus B is equals to some K times n. So here CA is congruent to CB, so using that CA minus CB is equals to Kn for some integer K. This Z for integer. So what we obtained, C into A minus B is equals to Kn. Since GCD of C comma n is equals to D, GCD of C comma n is equals to D, then there exist relatively prime integers R and S satisfying C is equals to dr, n is equals to ds. Now also they have given GCD of Cn is equals to D. So as GCD of C comma n is equals to D, then there exist relatively prime integers R and S. Relatively prime integers means that R and S possesses GCD 1. GCD of R comma S is equals to 1. Then such integers R and S becomes relatively prime. So then there exist relatively prime integers R and S satisfying C is equals to product dr, n is equals to product ds. Now substituting these values of C and n in this equation, here we put value of C and here we put value of n. So value of C is dr and value of n is ds. So substituting these values in above equation, we obtain dr into A minus B is equals to K times ds. So this implies on dividing both side by D, we obtain R into A minus B is equals to Ks. This implies R into A minus B is equals to Ks. Hence S divides R into A minus B, and this equation implies S divides R into A minus B, but S and R are relatively prime. These integers R and S are relatively prime. Here we exist that integers R and S are relatively prime, means their GCD is 1. So therefore by Euclid lemma, what Euclid lemma says, if A divides the product BC and GCD of A comma B is equals to 1, then A divides C. Now here GCD of S comma R is 1, So by Euclid lemma, S should divides A minus B. Therefore by Euclid's lemma, S divides A minus B, and this implies A is congruent to B modulo S. This implies A is congruent to B modulo S by definition. But what is value of S here? From this, N is equals to ds. So S is equals to what? N upon D. Therefore A is congruent to B modulo N by D. So here we prove whenever CA is congruent to CB modulo N and GCD of C comma N is equals to D, then A is congruent to B modulo N by D. In this theorem we use Euclid lemma. Next corollary, first corollary, if CA is congruent to CB modulo N and GCD of C comma N is equal to 1, then A is congruent to B modulo N. Second corollary, if CA is congruent to CB modulo P and P does not divide C where P is a prime number, then A is congruent to B modulo P. So this is obvious. Now come to next article, binary and decimal representation of integers. So in this article we learn how one integer can represent in binary and in decimal. Given any integer b greater than 1, then any positive integer n can be written uniquely as n is equals to a suffix m b to the power m plus a suffix m minus 1 b to the power m minus 1 plus and so on plus a1 b plus a naught, where 0 is less than equals to ai less than equals to b minus 1, and this I varies from 0 to m. This is same as n is equals to am minus 1 up to and so on a1 a0 to the base b. We call this b as base pole value or base for n. So here this is a positive integer n which represent in this form, and this form is familiar to us. Okay, this is a polynomial of variable b whose degree is m. We can treat this as polynomial, but actually this b and ai's are integers, where all ai's are lies in between 0 and b minus 1, or either they are equal to 0 or equal to b minus 1. So any positive integer can be represented in this form, and this is same as n is equals to a suffix m minus 1 up to and so on a1 a naught to the base b. We call this b as base pole value or base for positive integer n. Let's have example. Find the decimal representation of 1101001. Now this number is in binary form. We have to convert this in decimal. So let's have solution. Let n is equals to 1101001 to the base 2. Base of binary number is always 2. Comparing this n with respect to this one. So here value of a naught is 1, value of a1 is 0, value of a2 is 0, value of a3 is 1, value of a4 is 0, value of a5 is 1, value of a6 is 1. So as I told, base of binary number is 2. So therefore the binary number 11010001 to the base 2 is equals to 1 multiplied by 2 raised to 6. Here we take this is as am, last number, first number. 1 is equals to 2 raised to 6 plus 1 into 2 raised to 5 plus 0 into 2 raised to 4 plus 1 into 2 raised to 3 plus 0 into 2 raised to 2 plus 0 into 2 raised to 1 plus a naught, that is 1. So here we take power 6. Why? Come here. Here how many AIs are here? Here are total m plus 1 AIs. 1, 2, 3, 4 up to m plus 1. But here and here we choose power m. Whenever there are m plus 1 AIs, then we choose power m. That's why here are total 7 AIs. So we choose power 7 minus 1, 6. And as here b is base, so base of binary number is always 2. So here we took value of b is equals to 2. So now we calculate this one, which gives 2 raised to 6 is 64. 64 into 1, 64. 2 raised to 5 is 32. 32 into 1, 32. 0 into 2 raised to 4 is 0. 1 into 2 cube is 8. 0 into 2 square is 0. 0 into 2 raised to 1 is 0 plus 1. If we add this sum, 64 plus 32 plus 8 plus 1, it is equals to 105. So decimal representation of this binary number 11010001 is 105. So again I repeat, given any integer b greater than 1, then any positive integer n can be written uniquely as n is equals to am b to the power m plus a to the power a m minus 1 b to the power m minus 1 plus and so on plus a1 b plus a naught, where these ai's are lies in between 0 and b minus 1, or they are equal to 0 or b minus 1. And this is same as n is equals to a suffix m minus 1 up to and so on a1 a0 to the base b, and this base is here. Here we choose power m as it contains, because it contains m plus 1 coefficients, so we take its degree m, and we treat this as polynomial of variable b whose coefficients are a0 a1 up to am. Now let's have theorem. Let px, here they represent that polynomial, here they represent this in polynomial form. So let's have theorem 4.4. Let p of x is equals to summation k equals to 0 to m c suffix k x to the power k be a polynomial function of x with integral coefficients c suffix k. If a is congruent to b modulo n, then p of a is congruent to p of b modulo n. If a is congruent to b modulo n, then p of a is congruent to p of b modulo n, where p of x is what? Summation k varies from 0 to m ck x to the power k. Now recall the property. Whenever a is congruent to b modulo n, this implies a to the power k is congruent to b to the power k modulo n. We use this property to prove this theorem. Because a is congruent to b modulo n, this implies a to the power k is congruent to b to the power k modulo n. We prove this property in theorem 4.2. For k is equals to 0, 1 up to and so on m. Therefore c suffix k a to the power k is congruent to c suffix k b to the power k modulo n for all such k. So from this we can write ck a to the power k is congruent to ck b to the power k modulo n. Adding these m plus 1 congruences, how many congruences here? For value of k is up to m, so these are m plus this 0, so total value of k's are m plus 1. So these are how many congruences? M plus 1 congruences. So adding these m plus 1 congruences, we conclude that, so here we add these congruences, so k equals to 0 to m, ck a to the power k is congruent to k is equals to 0 to m, ck b to the power k modulo n. But ck a to the power k, ck a to x to the power k is equals to what? P of x. So therefore P of a is equals to what? Summation k varies from 0 to m ck a to the power k. So therefore ck a to the power k is what? Value of this sum is P of a. Similarly, value of this sum is from this P of b. So P of a is congruent to P of b modulo n. So this is a simple theorem. So remember what we proved here. If a is congruent to b modulo n, then P of a is congruent to P of b modulo n, provided P of x is equals to summation ck x to the power k, where k varies from 0 to m. Next theorem, theorem 4.5. Let n is equals to a suffix m 10 to the power m plus a suffix m minus 1 10 to the power m minus 1 plus and so on plus a1 10 plus a0 be the decimal expansion of the positive integer n, where 0 is less than equals to ak is less than equals to 10, and let s is equals to a0 plus a1 plus and so on plus am. Then 9 divides n if and only if 9 divides s. So n is the positive integer. Here base is what? 10. So this n is in decimal expansion. So let n is equals to this be the decimal expansion of positive integer n, where ak is lies in between 0 to 10, or they are either 0 or 10. And let s is what? S is sum of the coefficient of this a0 plus a1 plus and so on up to am. S is equals to sum of the coefficient. Then 9 divides this positive integer n if and only if 9 divides s. This we have to prove. So consider P of x is equals to k varies from 0 to m ak x to the power k be a polynomial with integral coefficient. Also given that s is equals to a0 plus a1 plus and so on plus am. So this is equals to P of 1. Why? So if we put here value of x is equals to 1, then P of 1 is equals to k varies from 0 to 1 ak 1 to the power k. 1 to the power k is 1 into ak, and if we vary this sum, then it becomes a0 plus a1 plus and so on. That's why s is equals to what? P of 1. And n is equals to am a suffix m 10 to the power m plus a suffix m minus 1 10 to the power m minus 1 plus and so on plus a1 10 plus a0. This is equals to P of 10. From this P of 10 is equals to ak 10 to the power k, k varies from 0 to m. So we have P of 1 and P of 10. Now 10 is congruent to 1 model 9, as the 9 divides difference of these two integer 10 minus 1 9. So 10 is congruent to 1 model 9. So by previous theorem 4.4, whenever a is congruent to b model 9, then P of a is congruent to P of b model 9. Therefore P of 10 is congruent to P of 1 modulo 9. Since P of 10, value of P of 10 is what now? Value of P of 10 is n, and value of p of 1 is s, and p of 1 is equals to a0 plus a1 plus and so on plus am is equals to s, so that n is congruent to s modulo n, so that n is congruent to s modulo n, which follows that n is congruent to 0 modulo n if and only if s is congruent to 0 modulo 9, which imply 9 divides n if and only if 9 divides s, which proves the theorem. We also say this as divisibility test of 9. Now next theorem 4.6. Let n is equals to am 10 to the power m plus am minus 1 10 to the power m minus 1 plus and so on plus a1 10 plus a0 be the decimal expansion of the positive integer n, where 0 less than equals to ak less than 10, and let t is equals to the alternating sum a0 minus a1 plus a2 minus a3 plus and so on plus minus 1 to the power m am. Then 11 divides n if and only if 11 divides t. So here n is in decimal expansion and t is given as alternating sum of this coefficient. How many coefficients are here? M plus 1. So 11 divides n if and only if 11 divides t. So this we have to prove. So assume let px is equals to summation k varies from 0 to m a suffix k x to the power k, because 10 is congruent to minus 1 modulo 11. Whether it is congruent? Yes, because this difference is divisible by 11. So 10 is congruent to minus 1 modulo 11. This implies p of 10 is congruent to p of minus 1 modulo 11. But p of 10, as we seen, p of 10 is equals to what? P of 10 is equals to summation ak 10 to the power k, where k varies from 0 to m. So p of 10 is equals to n, and p of minus 1, p of minus 1 is equals to what? Summation k varies from 0 to m ak minus 1 to the power k. So p of minus 1 is nothing but, if we expand this sum, then we get this alternating sum, which is equals to t. So p of minus 1 is equals to t, so that substituting these values in this, so we obtain n is congruent to t modulo 11. Thus either both n and t are divisible by 12 or neither is divisible by 12, which completes the proof. So remember, in 4.5 we have seen divisibility test for 9. Here s n is in decimal expansion, s is the sum of the coefficient. If 9 divides s, then only 9 divides n, and vice versa. Similarly here for divisibility test of 11, here t is taken as alternating sum of coefficient. So 11 divides n only when 11 divides t, and vice versa. So let's have examples to understand better. Then consider the integer n is equals to, consider the integer n is equals to 15,71,724, because the sum 1 plus 5 plus 7 plus 1 plus 7 plus 2 plus 4 is equal to 27. So we can express this n as in decimal expansion. We can express this in as decimal expansion. After expanding this in decimal expansion, the sum of coefficient like this the sum of coefficient. Here a naught is, coefficients are what here, comparing to this sum, a naught is 4, a1 is 2, a2 is 7, and so on, and last one is a6, a6 is 1. So if we add these digits, 1 plus 5 plus 7 plus 1 plus 7 plus 2 plus 4, and its sum is 27, and as 27 is divisible by 9, so by theorem 4.5 it shows that 9 divides n. Now we take alternating sum. Alternating sum, remember here, be careful, alternating sum from a naught. Where is a naught here? 4. So alternating sum starts from 4. So 4 minus 2 plus 7 minus 1 plus 7 minus 5 plus 1. So this alternating sum is equal to 11, and 11 is divisible by 11. That's why this n is also divisible by 11. Hence 9 divides n and 11 divides n. So while writing alternating sum, you have to choose a naught from unit place, a naught, a1, a2, like this. Next example, determine whether the integers, this one and this one, are divisible by 9 or 11. This is a problem 4.34 from exercise 4.3. Solution: let n1 is equal to given integer, so the sum of this integer 1 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1, which is equals to 27, and this sum is divisible by 9. So again, by that theorem, 9 divides the given integer. Now the alternating sum, here a naught is, while writing alternating sum we start from unit place. So alternating sum 1 minus 2 plus 2 minus 1 plus 2 minus 5 plus 6 minus 7 plus 1. This is the alternating sum, and which is equals to minus 3. But minus 3 is not divisible by 11. That's why 11 does not divide given integer. Now consider n2 is equal to this integer, second integer, and write the sum. The sum is 1 plus 4 plus 9 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, which is equals to 45, and 45 is divisible by 9. That's why 9 is divisible by, 9 divides your second integer. Similarly, the alternating sum 8 minus 7 plus 6 minus 5 plus 3 minus 2 plus 9 minus 4 plus 1, which is equals to 9. But 11 does not divide 9. That's why 11 does not divide given integer. Now next article, linear congruences and the Chinese remainder theorem. So first we discuss what is meant by linear congruence. Any equation of the form ax is congruent to b modulo n is called linear congruence, where a, b, n are variable. A, b, n are integers. Now recall the linear Diophantine equation. Recall this, the linear Diophantine equation ax plus by is equals to c. This such equation is called linear Diophantine equation, where x and y are variable, a, b, c are integers. So this linear Diophantine equation has a solution if and only if d divides c, where d is equals to what? GCD of AB. So this linear Diophantine equation has a solution only when the GCD of a, b, GCD of these coefficients should divides this c. Then only we say that linear Diophantine equation has a solution. Also, if x naught and y naught are particular solution of this equation ax plus by is equal to c, then all other solutions are given by x is equals to x naught plus b upon d into t, y is equals to y naught minus a upon d into t. So if we find particular solutions of this equation x naught and y naught, then it is easy to check these are other solutions. So b by d into t plus x naught and y naught minus a by d into t. This t is also integer. T varies from 0 to where 0 is less than equals to t is less than equals to d minus 1, where d is GCD of AB. Let's have theorem. Theorem 4.5. The linear congruence says ax congruent to b modulo n has a solution if and only if d divides b. The linear congruence says ax congruent to b modulo n has a solution if and only if d divides b, where d is equal to GCD of a comma n. So whenever GCD of a comma n divides b, then this linear congruence has a solution. If d divides b, then it has d mutually incongruent solutions modulo n. If d divides b, then it has d mutually incongruent solutions modulo n. This we have to prove. So let's have a proof. Let ax is congruent to b modulo n. This implies ax minus b is equals to ny, where n belongs to z and y is also some integer. This implies ax minus ny is equals to b. By definition of linear congruence, this congruence implies ax minus b is equals to ny. If we shift this ny on left side and this negative b on right side, we obtain ax minus ny is equals to b. Now whatever we obtain ax minus ny is equals to b, this is same as linear Diophantine equation. This is same as linear Diophantine equation, and we know that linear Diophantine equation has a solution if and only if GCD of a comma n divides b. So this equation ax minus ny is equal to b has a solution if and only if d divides b, where d is equals to GCD of a comma n. Using that, if d divides b, then the solution of ax is congruent to b modulo n. Suppose d divides b and x naught comma y naught is particular solution of ax congruent to b modulo n, then any other solution has the form x is equals to x naught plus n by d t, y is equals to y naught plus a by d t. So as ax minus ny is equals to b, this is a Diophantine equation, and this Diophantine equation has a solution whenever GCD of a n divides b, and if I choose particular solution x naught and y naught, then all other solutions are in this form: x is equals to x naught plus n by d t, y is equals to y naught plus a by d t. These are the all other solution of this equation, means all other solution of this congruence for some choice of t. Therefore x naught comma, now here I put value of t as 1, 2 up to d minus 1. So for t is equals to 0, x is equals to x naught. Therefore x naught plus n by d for t is equals to 1. For t is equals to 2, x naught plus 2n by d up to and so on, x naught plus for t is equals to d minus 1 n upon d. are the different solution for t is equal to 0, 1, 2 up to d minus 1 of this congruence. Now, since x naught plus t1 upon n by t is congruent to x naught plus t2 n by d modulo n, so this implies t1 n by d is congruent to t2 n by d modulo n, and this implies t1 is congruent to t2 modulo n, and this implies d divides t1 minus t2, d divides t1 minus t2. But what is the values of t1 t2? Since values of t1 t2 is lies in between 0 and d, so their difference also lies in between 0 and d. So whether it is possible that d divides t1 minus 1 to t1 minus t2, not possible, as this difference is lies in between 0 to d. So this statement contradicts, so which is a contradiction. Thus all other solutions are different, which completes the proof. Now corollary. If GCD of a comma n is equals to 1, then the linear congruence ax congruent to b modulo n has a unique solution modulo n. So whenever GCD of a and n is 1, then the linear congruence has unique solution modulo n. Now let's have example. Solve the linear congruence 18x congruent to 30 modulo 42. So comparing given congruence 18x congruent to 30 modulo 42 with ax congruent to b modulo n. So then we obtain a is equal to 18, b is equal to 13, and n is equal to 42, and this congruence has a solution if and only if GCD of a comma n should divides b. So here GCD of 18 comma 42 is 6, and 6 divide b means 6 divide 30. This implied this congruence has 6 incongruent solutions. How many solutions? It has exactly d incongruent solution, and d is equal to what? 6. So this congruence has 6 mutually incongruent solutions. Now 18x is congruent to 30 modulo 42. This implies 3x is congruent to 5 modulo 7, as 18 is divisible by 6, 30 is divisible by p is 6, and 42 is also divisible by 6. So if we observe this congruence, we can easily say that x is equals to 4 is solution, but we still prove how. Now this implies 3x is congruent to 5 plus 7 modulo 7. Here we add 7, so that 7 in 5, so that 3 should divide this sum. So in this, here we add, why we added? Because 3 should divide this. Why we added 7? Here we have to add 7 or multiple of 7 up to what? So that your 3 should divide this sum. So 5 plus 7 is 12. This implies 3x is congruent to 12 modulo 7, which implies x is congruent to 4 modulo 7. Therefore x is equals to 4 is a solution of this congruence. So this is my particular solution, x is equal to 4. Hence all other solutions are, so by that theorem all other solutions are what? X is equals to 4 plus 42 by 6 t, and value of t is varies from 0, 1, 2, 3 up to d minus 1. What is d? 5. So values of t is varies from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So therefore x is congruent to 4 plus 42 upon 60, which is equal to 4 plus 70 modulo 42. That is, for t is equals to 0, x is equals to 4. For t is equals to 1, x is equals to 11. For t is equals to 2, value of x is 18. For t is equals to 3, value of x is 25. For t is equals to 4, value of x is 32. For t is equals to 5, value of x is 39. So these are the all other solutions which are incongruent solution, mutually incongruent solutions modulo 42. So how many solutions we obtain? 6. So total 6. So remember, whenever ax is congruent to b modulo n, this is a linear congruence, and if GCD of a comma n should divide b, then it has exactly d solutions. And suppose if we find particular solution, as here I found particular solution x is equals to 4, then all other solutions are in the form x is equals to 4 plus x is equals to, I treat as x naught, x is equals to x naught plus n by dt, where t varies from 0 to up to d minus 1. So don't jumble with this, okay? Don't consider this x is equals to 4, okay? This is just notation. Here x is equal congruent to 4 modulo 7, here x naught is equal to 4, so don't confuse with this notation. For today we stop here. Thank you.